Hey everyone. So in this video, I want to talk about a common issue that can affect a lot of intellectually and creatively gifted empaths. And there's actually two of these topics, which came up in our recent webinar on integrating the gifted self. And then I'll end this video with a suggestion, something for you to start practicing, which if I can't call it like a black and white solution, it's at least going to bring you into more clarity and help you reclaim like a greater sense of your own empowerment. So the first issue here is that gifted individuals are highly adapted towards complexity. We are able to like perceive nuance and follow the paths of contradictions and to hold like different paradigms and languages in juxtaposition and superposition. And it's like our nature to keep inquiring into the why and into the ultimate reasons for things and the connections and the trajectories for things, which animate our world, and not just like the human cultural world, but other layers of reality that really stretch beyond the human and beyond the merely egoic levels. So to put this another way, as gifted individuals, we're naturally like big picture thinkers and systems thinkers. So we're equally adept at the details, though, as well as the conventions and the languages that exist within any given paradigm. So, consciously or unconsciously, we really understand the contingency and dependency of rules and truths, which are based upon the context in which they're discovered or produced. And so we're very sensitive to these kinds of differences and adept at moving quickly between the detail and the big picture, the micro and the macro, if you will, identifying and following specific trajectories rather than just seeing things or interpreting them as isolated or independent phenomena, which then no phenomena actually ever is. And so this really means that we know how to participate in more than one paradigm. And we want to do this. We gravitate towards that because we're naturally seeking to expand our understanding. And we are not likely to live in information silos. Unless we're like consciously focused on a specific project or task. For example, with myself, if we look at social media, I follow all kinds of voices across different platforms because so many people have like unique forms of access to given areas. And this is really, for me, one of the best ways to learn from it. So obviously, I have boundaries. I'm not following everyone. I don't follow someone who's in like clear ethical misalignment with my values. But even within this scope, I'm still paying attention to a broader range or spectrum of voices, which is to say that like I don't know them all. I'm not following everyone. I can't, but it's just that I notice that I don't dogmatically like dismiss a conversation because of the ways that others have labeled it. And so this is all, it goes back to authenticity as well, because it's about what I authentically feel like I need to learn about next. So the issue though with having the ability to like really appreciate this level of complexity is that highly intelligent gifted people sometimes or often find themselves stuck in kind of a loop between moving between the micro and the macro, the detail and the big picture. And so our problem is not like I don't see the forest for the trees. It's more like how do I take effective action given that I know all the trees and I see the full forest, or I'm like in pursuit of the full forest, so to speak. And yet I also see that there are other forests. There are different kinds of trees nearby that don't connect with this one. So should I stay in this forest? Should I do I need to like visit the other ones? Maybe I want to like make maps and signposts to help other people visit and access some of these forests and so on. So we know what we need to do and we know what we want to do on a higher level. And the issue is like, how do we integrate these frameworks because the status quo forms of categorization no longer work, or we perceive the contradictions. And part of our authentic path as gifted individuals is forming these new types of synthesis, which can be highly individualized, highly unique to our own understanding, but that's part of our contribution. So, and what it comes down to on a practical level is always like, what action should I be taking? What's the most effective path for me when I integrate this? And in order to keep it in alignment with my own purpose and my own authentic development. So this shows up like we want to move away from a sense of confusion and a loyalty to the truth of complexity, which we don't want to deny, but into a place of clarity where we can like take confident actions that feel really aligned with who we are and, again, our sense of authentic development. So it's this balance between the truth of the complexity, but then also kind of, if you will, like making an accurate model of it, which still respects the truth of the complexity, but also is empowering for enabling us to really work with it and to take effective, aligned action, if that makes sense. And so there's a couple ways in which this can often show up. It's often in situations like what kind of career path I should be on. Or, for example, let's say you've climbed the ladder of success in your given field or profession, and your profession feels somewhat conservative, let's say, more than you are. And you may have two or three other areas where you've really developed maybe even to another level of expertise, but it feels like it clashes with the paradigm of your primary profession or career path. So, for example, let's say it's your spiritual side, and yet your profession is in some area of science. So, this is a real existential problem, and you can see how this is where we're really like working on the edge of what the status quo has been able to develop to this point, and our own authentic integration and our ability to synthesize new forms of understanding. So, we run into this as gifted individuals frequently because we're intrinsically driven to pursue the edges of whatever paradigm we participate in. And we're predisposed, therefore, to finding all of these places of internal contradiction. So, this is the issue, one of the key issues, and like we can talk further about this in the next webinar. And maybe you want to bring in some specific examples of your own. I'd love to hear that. But here's the suggestion I gave our group, and maybe this can help you too. Let me know if it actually helps in some way. So I hope this doesn't just sound like drink your water, get more sleep, but here's what I suggested. So as soon as you can this week, and preferably like every day if you can, you want to start chipping away at some area of fear in your life. And I don't mean like little phobias like we're afraid of spiders or something, but this is like the big psychic fears. So some area where you've really kind of like stuffed away a bunch of these fears, the things you don't want to deal with yet. And it's sort of like your psychic junk drawer. It's the loose ends, it's the open loops, it's the overtly scary chunks of things that you just feel like you're not ready to deal with yet. And so what you want to do is you can like break this down into super small steps. You can even break it into like symbolic steps if you want, if you can only take action on a symbolic level so far. So maybe this means like you just have to order a book on an area or problem that you need to solve, and you need to get on it. Or maybe just you're making an explicit list of all the scary things that you need to tackle in that area. So whatever it is, it sits on your path, the path that you're supposed to take. And it's kind of, you tell yourself that it's like preventing your progress, but it represents this area of tangled fears. And it really represents a bunch of like stuck or stagnant pools of psychic energy. And so what you want to do, this exercise is like you're starting to stir that water. You're like starting to remove like whatever logs or debris are like floating around in that pool. And at a minimum, this will start to bring back energy into your stream, so to speak. You can see more clearly. You will at least get some more momentum, and you're likely to see like the next couple of steps that you can already take action on, which may be surprising. Like maybe you thought you weren't ready for that yet, but now all of a sudden it actually looks quite a bit easier. And so this will also like just it will raise your vibration in the area of like self-worth, self-trust, because a deeper part of yourself is witnessing you do this and go through this process. So this is all basically, it's kind of like you're removing a lot of like psychic placeholders. That's a good way to look at it. And so you're gonna gain more energy as the result of starting this process. And the more of it that you do, the more you'll be able to draw in higher guidance without even trying. Like it's just going to come to you. You'll realize your next step. And with enough of it, like you might even just totally pop into a new paradigm of thinking in that thing that you thought you were stuck on. So the things we fear are highly individualized and they're designed to match our authentic path. I really like to see them as like doors or portals that our ego needs to walk through in order to move forward. And it's really almost as if our future self or our higher self has kind of like designed these or given these to us as the portals which are going to allow us to proceed on our path. And since we're on this side of the portal, like these look like fears because that's how it shows up for the ego. And this is also why like the answers to these questions feel so elusive, because everyone's portals are different. Like they're about your authentic path. So I think though we obviously like share broad categories in common. So I would target your attention in this direction. Like try this over the next week. And, especially in some place where your usual mental loops are not moving you forward, you are on well-traveled paths and you need to kind of like disrupt your own loops. So get started on this and let me know how it goes in the comments or in our next webinar. And if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and check out some of my other videos, like for more background context on these topics. And I thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the comments.